Okay. So today, talking about the ankle foot, last lab. We're almost there. So a lot of shit going on here. We got 26 bones, 19 muscles, more than 100 ligaments, which tells us that there is a lot of room for error. How many of you have had some sort of foot or ankle injury? Almost everyone has sprained an ankle or had some sort of other issue in the foot, ankle, and lower leg, because there's a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong because there's a lot of pieces. Functions of the foot, they're going to help us to support our body weight, of course, and then also propulsion, so allowing us to move forward, laterally, backward, etc. Okay. Issues in our foot can be caused by poor foot mechanics. So again, bad movement economy or movement mechanics, gait or abnormalities or improper footwear can cause us some issues as well. So let's start with some bone review. Point to your tibia. Start with that. On your thing or on your real life? Sorry, Carlene. Okay, tibia. Medial or lateral? It's the medial bone, okay? Point to your fibula. Lateral, okay? Point to your medial malleolus. Yep, it's that medial bump. It's pretty easy to palpate on yourself too. It kind of really pokes out. It's like the inside top of your ankle. Okay, so medial malleolus, okay? Lateral malleolus. Which bone is the lateral malleolus found on? Fibula, okay, yep, it's over here. Again, pretty easy to palpate on yourself as well. It's kind of a little notch on the outside of your ankle, okay? Calcaneus, point to it. Calcaneus. Yep, it's that heel bone. Again, super easy to palpate it if you just, you know what, I'm gonna get crazy, taking my shoes off. Okay, so again, super easy to palpate. It's just kind of that heel bone here. So that's calcaneus. Talus, can you palpate your talus? So the talus is what creates this actual ankle joint. So it's going to allow us to have dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. Again, pretty easy to palpate. If I do some dorsiflexion, plantar flexion on myself, I can feel that kind of underneath the lateral and medial malleolus. Okay, so there's your talus. Tarsal bones, there's 7 of them. Again, the configuration is kind of similar to what we see in the carpals in the hands. And then we have the metatarsals, which are here, and then the phalanges, which will be the most distal portion. Okay. Here you can kind of see that interaction. So again, calcaneus is that heel bone. The ankle joint is made of the talus and tibia fibula interaction. Okay. And then here you can see kind of a nice review of those tarsal bones. Let's see, you all have a foot, so find your medial cuneiform. Edward, you have one on, oh, you've got that one. Medial cuneiform. Yep. 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 Okay. How about the navicular? Find your navicular. So the navicular is going to be on the medial side closest to the talus. Yep. So other kind of unique things to think about when we think about the lower legs. So we have this tib-fib joint or this tibiofibular joint. Not a lot of movement going on between these two bones, right? They're going to be connected by this kind of this thick interosseous membrane, and that's going to be made of a kind of a thick fascia. So we don't want a whole lot of movement occurring between those two bones. Again, fibula doesn't do a whole lot. He only supports, I think, 10 to 20% of our body weight. Most of the work is done by the tibia. Okay. Talocrural joint is the hinge joint that's going to allow us to have dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. So again, that interaction involves tibia, fibula, and the talus bone. Subtalar joint is going to allow us to have inversion, eversion occurring, and then we can have flexion and extension of those toes, and that'll occur in the metatarsal phalangeal joint. Okay. Let's see. So again, here you can see that kind of that interosseous membrane, which is pretty, like I said, it's very thick fascia, so it doesn't allow a whole lot of movement to occur because it's such a thick connective tissue. Look at all these joints. Isn't that fun, right? So again, you have that subtalar joint. Again, you can see the interaction between those metatarsals and the phalanges that would allow us to kind of curl our toes down or have some extension of those toes as well. All right, stand up, show me dorsiflexion. Yep, dorsiflexion, toes are pointed up. Show me plantar. What plane of motion? What was it? No? Sagittal, thank you. And how about inversion and eversion? So inversion, the weight is on the lateral side of your feet. So again, imagine your feet were wet and you were gonna like leave footprints, you know? So you have like a small footprint if I have inversion going on, okay? Now show me eversion. So again, now the weight's more on the medial side. Again, if my feet were wet and I left footprints, I would look like I was very flat-footed, okay? What plane of motion is inversion and eversion occurring on? No? What do you think? Is it frontal or sagittal? Frontal, yep. So we're just kind of shifting that weight kind of on either side. That's kind of a tricky one. Can you think of a time where you would want to do inversion or eversion? Is that something that we cognitively think about? Can you think of any examples when I would use one of those? Any activities that you might do? Yeah, definitely. Okay. When I ski, again, if like, let's say I'm going to hit some moguls. Again, I need to be able to lean either direction as I kind of rotate, right? So again, a lot of inversion, eversion going on so that I can maintain my center of gravity as I'm moving around the mountain, hitting those slopes. Gosh, I wish I could go to Colorado this winter. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to just be stuck at sundown over there. I could head over to Galena. It's just like the same as sundown, and I live like a mile from sundown though, so it's like, But it's nice to go over there, you know, something different, because we go to sundown a lot. What else besides skiing or snowboarding? Anything in the weight room you can think of? Think about your feet as two separate pieces. Don't think of them together. That'll help you. Okay, when I do a squat, all right, you've probably been told before to kind of push your knees out as you come up. Okay, so as I push my knees out, where's the weight go? Where's my weight go? On the outside of my feet as well. Okay, so I want to keep my weight back on my heels, and as I push up, I push my knees out, and that's going to allow me to keep that weight on the lateral edge. Okay, what about if I were to do something like this? Do I have inversion, eversion going on? Okay, so again, I've got my weight on the medial side here and probably more on the lateral side here, although it could be pretty neutral on this leg. Okay, so again, something like a side lunge or whatever you want to call this, a lateral lunge. Again, I'm going to have some weight shifting depending on, where my center of gravity is. We just covered those. Again, which plane of motion for inversion, eversion? Frontal. Thank you. Lots of pictures for you, so you know what those look like. You can sit back down. So again, when we think about these lower leg compartments, this is something that's pretty unique. So there's 4 different compartments in the lower leg, and each compartment is going to be surrounded by this thick fascia. Okay, so it's like this. Think of it as like like those summer sausages that you buy that are like a nice, delightful little. You can have like a charcuterie tray or whatever. Is that how you say that word? Where you have like the sausage and the cheese and like the olives, and it's like this lovely little thing. You know how the casing on that sausage is like really tight? Okay, that's kind of what this is like inside of our legs. Okay, so imagine it's like the sausage casing in your legs, right? So it's tightly surrounding each of these compartments. So you have 4 sausages basically in that lower leg. And a couple reasons for this. Number 1, it's going to help facilitate venous return. Tell me, what do I mean when I say venous return? Yeah, it's going to help us to get blood flow back to the heart. Again, imagine I was like 6'2" or something along those lines, and I'm standing up. Well, that's a long way for blood to go from my feet all the way back to my heart, right? So if I have this thick connective tissue, that's going to help facilitate that, because it's going to help us keep a higher pressure in those lower extremities so that that blood will return with a little bit greater ease. Also can help us prevent excessive swelling of muscles during exercise. So again, yes, I want to send blood down to the muscles in my feet, ankles, lower legs, but that's not it. That's not the only place I want to. Right? So again, I don't want to have too much blood flow there, because I need to send blood to a bunch of other places, like some of the bigger muscles, or like to my heart or to my brain or something along those lines. So a lot of other locations that we want to send blood. And so for those reasons, this tight connective tissue will help us to prevent swelling in those particular locations. Okay, this you need to write down. These are the muscles that are found in each different compartment. So the muscles in this unit, there's 3 muscles, I believe, that you need the origin insertion for, and that's tib anterior, gastrocnemius, and soleus. The rest of them, you need to know which compartment they're in and what their actions are, okay? So make sure that you can differentiate which muscles belong in which compartment and kind of like their general location, and then what are the actions of those muscles, okay? So give me a second. Are you guys good? Or you need a sec still? You're good? Okay. All right. So which muscles do plantar flexion? So again, our primary movers are going to be gastrocnemius and soleus. Tib posterior will also assist in that process. Tib posterior was found in the deep posterior compartment. And then your synergists will be peroneus longus and peroneus brevis. Again, those are found in the lateral compartment. Sometimes peroneus longus and peroneus brevis, you might see them listed as fibularis longus and fibularis brevis. So if you see that somewhere, whether it's in this textbook or, you know, at some point later in your life, know that those are the same muscles. Peroneus also means fibularis. Which muscles are involved in dorsiflexion? Tib anterior is going to be your primary dorsiflexor, but both the extensor digitorum longus and extensor hallucis longus are found in that anterior compartment. Again, if you do dorsiflexion, you can really feel tib anterior kind of pop out. Extensor digitorum longus is going to help us extend our toes. Extensor hallucis longus, what does hallucis mean? Anybody know? What is the hallucis? Do you remember what pollicis is? Hallucis is big toe. Yes. Pollicis was our thumb. Hallucis is our big toe. Again, we see a lot of similarities when we think about the muscle arrangement in the foot and ankle in comparison to what we saw in the wrist and the hand. Okay. So extensor hallucis longus is going to help us extend that big toe. Inversion, again, looking at what's going on kind of more on that medial side of the lower leg. So tib anterior, tib posterior, again, those are both going to be medial because they're, you know, on that tibia. Flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus, and then extensor hallucis longus. So again, muscles affecting the big toe, which is on that medial side, will also help with inversion, as well as those tibial muscles. And then when we think about eversion, again, we're looking at muscles that are more on the lateral side of the lower leg. So those peroneus or fibularis muscles, which were found in the lateral compartment, as well as extensor digitorum longus, which is going to be more anterior as well. So anterior lateral will help us with eversion. Will you show me eversion one more time? Was it medial or lateral side? Is it putting my weight on the inside or putting my weight on the outside? Go back and look. Is it inside or outside? Do I go like this or do I go like this? So I'm getting mixed reviews from the crowd. Inversion, does the weight go on the medial side or lateral? Look at your notes. Didn't you write something down?
Eversion is in it. Eversion is, oh no. Eversion is outside and then inversion is towards like the medial, right?
So inversion, eversion. Did you guys write stuff down? What are you guys doing out there? Write shit down. When I put stuff up here, write it down. Do you remember how to do school? Which one is it?
Eversion.
Inversion on the outside, eversion on the inside. Is that right? Okay, thank you. All right, flexion of the toes. Show me toe flexion. It's like curling them under. So toe flexion is like curling them down. And toe extension is like pulling them up. Okay. So these muscles, the flexors, are going to be on the posterior side because they're going to kind of like wrap around under the foot, basically. Lumbricals, do you remember that word? So we had lumbricals in our hand as well. So again, like I said, there are a lot of similarities. We're not getting into really any intrinsic foot muscles. There's a bunch of them, but we'll keep it simple for this class. But do appreciate that there's a bunch of intrinsic muscles, just like what we saw on the hand as well. Certainly not as good from a fine motor standpoint as what we see in the hand, but also, you know, their job is going to be more like supporting the arch of the foot and allowing us to kind of sustain the body weight, stuff like that. So, okay, extension of the toes. Again, that's going to be kind of like pulling your toes up. So these muscles will be more on that anterior superficial side, or superior side, I mean. Lumbricals also assist in this. Okay. This muscle, you need the origin, insertion, action. Okay, so write these down, por favor. Gastrocnemius, you should have already learned last week. So this one is a review, and then you have 2 new muscles to add to your collection, your library. But gastrocnemius is the most superficial of the posterior compartment. Again, you can see that it's got 2 heads, so it's got a medial head, lateral head, and it's a biarticular muscle, so it does assist with knee flexion. Its primary action is plantar flexion, okay? And it's a very strong plantar flexor. Inserts with the soleus to form the Achilles tendon, which is on the posterior side of the calcaneus. This muscle is very powerful. So again, we have a lot of fast twitch fibers in this particular muscle, which will allow us to do things like jumping or, you know, pushing ourselves forward in a fast or powerful way. So gastrocnemius is going to be important for those types of skills. Tell me when you got this one. You guys good? Okay. Soleus is directly deep to gastrocnemius. It is a uniarticular muscle, so it doesn't help with knee flexion, but it does form that common insertion point of the Achilles tendon. And again, it'll be a strong plantar flexor. However, this muscle is more important than, this muscle is more important in things such as endurance types of movements. So this muscle is more important in like stability and like long distance running or something along those lines. Gastrocnemius is built more for power. Okay. This muscle, again, plays an important role in plantar flexion when the knee is flexed. So something like running. I also have dancing in my notes too. I guess it depends on your dance moves. If you're like really, you know, like in a mosh pit, I would say you're using more gastrocnemius because you're like jumping. But if you're doing like salsa dancing or something like that, which is probably what most of you guys do, then then you're hitting more of this muscle, I think. But just so you know, dance classes are prohibited at this point. You can go to the bars or go out to eat and go to breweries until 10 p.m., but no more exercising in groups, no more kids gymnastics, no more adult sports, including, you know, dance classes, anything like that. So Those are the new Iowa restrictions. So Carlene and I will be not going to yoga over break. Thanks a lot. I know I shouldn't complain because you guys have it like way worse, I think, than what we have it. But I'm still annoyed. Breck's gymnastics class is off, but you can go to a bar still. I'm like, oh, okay. Kids can't do sports, but we can drink beer. Okay, right. Makes sense. It's fine. So I do want to think about the difference between the gastrocnemius and soleus. Okay. So tell me how you would strengthen your calves. Give me something you could do in the weight room. Okay, show me. Yeah, so I could have a bar on my back or something and I go like this. Okay. Anything else I could do? We don't have this in our gym, I don't think, but have you seen like a seated calf raise before? So you sit and there's like a weight that goes on here, you like set something down and then you do like this. Have you seen those before? So that, because I take the knee flexion into account, this is going to activate the soleus more so. Okay, so if I wanted to strengthen the soleus, I can do like a seated calf raise. If I wanted to hit gastroc, I can do a standing calf raise. Okay. Can I stretch one and not stretch the other? Can I separate them out, kind of based on what I just told you about the knee flexion scenario? Show me how you would stretch the gastrocnemius. I feel as though you already know this. Stand up and show me how you might stretch this one. There's probably two good ones that you know of. So think about its job. If its job is plantar flexion, I have to do the opposite in order to stretch it. Stand up and show me how you can stretch this. Every single one of you has done an activity and stretch before in your lives. I know you know how to do this. Stand up. That's going to get more hamstring. It'll probably get it a little bit. Is that stretching? Is that enough?
Yeah, I can feel it.
All right. Carlene's got a better version of that, so she's kind of pushing against the chair there. There's probably one more good one. So again, if my job is plantar flexion, how can I do dorsiflexion? Okay, so something like this. Right, so if I push my heel down, that should be a nice stretch. You've done that one before? Yes? Okay, have you done this before where now I have a bended knee position? Have you ever done that one? Okay, so if I keep my legs straight, this is gastrocnemius. If I do this bended position, again, my weight is still on this back leg and my weight is really on the heel. That's going to hit the soleus. Again, a lot of you probably haven't done that because I don't see a lot of endurance athletes out there. And we said gastrocnemius is more important for some of those power types of things that a lot of you have done. So again, it's probably more common for you to stretch the gastrocnemius as opposed to the soleus. You can sit down. All right, deep posterior compartment, 3 muscles, again, looking at the actions of these muscles. Primary action is going to help with plantar flexion, toe flexion, and inversion as well. Okay. So this will lie underneath the gastrocnemius, soleus, and then this deep posterior compartment, tib post, flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus. The cool thing about these toe muscles is they like wrap underneath the foot. So they're like found on this posterior side and then they're going to like wrap underneath. So they like come around here and wrap underneath and help to form the arch of the foot. So they're like these super long tendons that run, you know, really the gamut of the foot, and there's a bunch of them in there, and that's going to help us to establish the arch of the foot. Okay, a couple more slides. Okay, lateral compartment. Again, this will lie along the fibula and includes peroneus longus, peroneus brevis, also known as fibularis longus, fibularis brevis. Can cause eversion and plantar flexion. And again, you can kind of see here that the tendon is really going to run along that lateral side and have its insertion somewhere kind of more distally. However, it's really got this nice long tendon, which will help us to establish some of the strength of the arch in your foot as well. Okay. One more compartment. So we have that anterior compartment. Again, its primary duty is dorsiflexion, but can also help with inversion and eversion. So the muscles doing inversion include extensor hallucis longus and tibialis anterior, and eversion will include the extensor digitorum longus. But all three of these muscles will do dorsiflexion. Again, that's its primary job. And they'll kind of run right along the front of the front and the lateral side of the tibia. And lastly, origin insertion action of the tibialis anterior. Again, if I do dorsiflexion, I can really feel the origin of the tibia anterior kind of pop out because there's really not a lot of fat or anything in the lower leg. It's a pretty lean area. So again, you can kind of feel that kind of pop out if you do dorsiflexion. Again, a pretty long tendon. It'll help us to support the medial portion of the arch of the foot, and our insertion will be on the base of the first metatarsal medial cuneiform. Again, primary job is dorsiflexion, but can also help us with inversion as well. So I'll let you get that down, and then I have some review things for us. So give you another minute or so. Okay, any questions on the last, I guess, this is our last lab. So this is an awkward thing because you're going to have a week off and then you're going to, boom, take an exam right when you get back. Questions on what to expect with that? So again, that lab practical, I'll send you an email on probably Sunday or Monday when we return after Thanksgiving. Well, when we return, I should say, from Thanksgiving. But, essentially it'll be set up the same way as the first lab practical. So I believe it's 50 questions. Some will be identification, origin insertion action of the muscles and stuff. So use those lab handouts or your lab homework as a reference to help you study for those. Again, we'll log into Zoom. That way, if you do have questions as you're going through it, I can answer your questions on the exam. I believe you have 60 minutes to complete it. What else? You do have a quiz on the knee. So there's like this guy on campus that like can upload the stuff on eLearn for us. And he normally needs like a week to do it. And I emailed him mine on Monday, so it's not up yet, that quiz. But as soon as he has it posted, I will send you an email and I'll give you plenty of time. I'll give you the rest of the week or whatever you need to make sure you can get that knee, the knee quiz done. All right. You'll have a Dropbox for this lab as well. So that'll be due, you know, whatever that Tuesday is when we come back. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is some study things. Notice that there's some bones at your seat. I want you to come up with a couple questions, either related to things we covered today, if you want to do stuff with the knee, if you want to do something with the hip, whatever you can do with your bones to kind of come up with a couple of review questions, and then we'll kind of go around the room and ask those questions and we can work on answering those together. All right, so I'll give you guys a couple minutes to come up with some questions related to whatever piece of equipment you have there.